Hey guys, welcome to the Geek Critique Show. We're your hosts, Jen and Coda.
I'm sorry, Jen. My name is Dakota. I don't like my name shortened.
You want to fight? I don't know what you want from me.
I don't want to fight, but maybe Luke Cage might.
He's so cheesy, I swear. Just like Luke Cage.
Yeah, Luke Cage is pretty cheesy. So guys, if you didn't already know, we're going to be talking all about Luke Cage, Season 1. It was released in full in Netflix, all 13 episodes. For better or worse, we're going to talk about it.
Yeah. So what do you think overall? Tell us your thoughts.
I think it was a solid first season, but out of all the Netflix shows that delve into the Marvel Universe of Daredevil and Jessica Jones, this is the weakest by far.
Yeah, I don't know, I personally can't find an argument to that. If you guys can, I'm sure you'll let us know. And
I'm sure in some aspects it is a little bit stronger.
Yeah, in some parts, yeah, but I think overall, like you said, I think the overlying issue for me was that it didn't really have a very strong villain.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Cottonmouth, to me, I said this to you right in like...
Oh,
spoilers.
Spoilers all the way.
Yeah,
so
spoilers for days.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about everything in this film, or these 13 episodes, so...
Yeah, because we've been binging and we have a lot to say.
Yeah, we gotta talk about it.
So, a few spoilers. So one thing that I told Dakota in like the second episode, I was like, yeah, Cottonmouth's honestly just a pawn and he's totally gonna die like halfway through the season. Mm-hmm. So predictable. Yeah. He just wasn't strong enough. He wasn't really intimidating. He was just a regular...
He was a gangster.
You know what I mean? Like, he was just like a regular, like, I don't know, like just everyday, like, you know, drug dealing dude. Mm-hmm. I don't know, like, I think, like, the other characters, even, like, Kingpin was so much more than that because he had so much power. Mm-hmm. And he was such a threat physically, like, you know, mentally and what he was capable of.
And he was just so hard to touch, just
was... Yeah, exactly. Cottonmouth, he was just, like, hanging out in the club, like, just doing his thing. I actually, from the start, found his sister to be much more intimidating.
Mm-hmm. And a more compelling character all around.
Yeah, all around, yeah. She was definitely, like, a lot more compelling and a lot more, I don't know, just to me, more of a threat.
She's conniving.
Exactly.
She knows,
whereas Kingpin,
she knows how to hit people.
Not Kingpin, Cottonmouth, you just kind of were like, what's he doing? He's just doing his thing, you know?
So, let's talk a little bit about Diamondback. He was kind of mentioned the first, 5-6 episodes, and then he showed up with his Judas bullet, and he wreaked havoc on Luke Cage. And before this, there was literally no threat for Luke Cage. Besides, like, being imprisoned again, but he could easily just get back out. Now we know that he can be hurt.
There's an actual threat.
Yeah, there's an actual threat to the show. And honestly, I wasn't a huge fan of Diamondback. I know we talked about how Kilgrave and Kingpin were far better villains for Jessica Jones and Daredevil, respectively. But what did you think about Diamondback and his plans and stuff?
I think he's just basically like the definition of chaotic evil. He's just honestly insane, and a lot of the stuff that he does literally doesn't really have much like rhyme or reason. He's just kind of like running around laughing. He's just having a good old time. Mm-hmm. I thought his smile and his humor in such violent circumstances was quite frightening, and I thought that was really well done.
Yeah,
like his like menacing and almost like
you were actually scared of him.
You were scared of him, but at the same time you were like laughing at some of his jokes, like when he made fun of Luke Cage's mom.
Yeah,
he was like, funny. "Oh, I always liked your mom. She's kind of nice," and then he like just like disses Luke Cage's mom, and I just lost it laughing because he's literally he is extremely immature. He's so crazy and warped that I think his growth was stunted when he was put in prison almost at such an early age, because he hasn't developed much since then. He held on to the rage and anger that he had as like a teenager and just didn't let it go. And I think that's what kind of shows how overly emotional he is, and how he is like an enraged teenage boy with a lot of weapons.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I am a little bit confused. Like, did he create this huge drug ring, gun selling ring, because of his hatred for Luke Cage? Did that prompt him into a life of crime? His jealousy for Luke Cage, that is. Why, like, as a crazy character, like, does his backstory, which is he's kind of the unwanted child in the family, does that make it okay for him to do any of these things, or can we get behind the character? And honestly, I don't feel like I ever bought that.
Okay, I see what you're saying. I mean, no matter what anyone's been through, you can't really use that as an excuse to just go on a killing spree.
Of course,
that's just never okay.
Right.
But I see what you're saying, because with some of the other characters like Kingpin and like Kilgrave, you could really empathize with them.
Right.
However, with Diamondback, I really do feel a lot of empathy for him. I feel like to be so outshone by your best friend must have left him with constant feelings of confliction his entire life. To know that his mom was just the other woman.
Right.
To know that his dad just cast him aside, but he didn't realize his dad was just kind of like a jerk, like he didn't really love anyone.
And although the show talks about this being a parable for Cain and Abel, we spoke about this.
Yeah.
It's more a parallel to Isaac and Ishmael.
Yeah, we were actually talking about this because the show references a lot to the Bible. And, even Diamondback constantly keeps saying, I'm not my brother's keeper, in reference to Cain.
Right.
But I thought it was interesting because Abraham had 2 wives in the Bible, Sarah and Hagar.
Hagar was a second wife.
Yeah, Hagar was a second wife because Sarah was barren.
Right.
So he produced with Hagar a son, Ishmael, and Hagar wasn't the woman that he loved. So significantly later in life, when Sarah was very, very old, she produced a son that was a miracle child, which is a direct quote from the show. Not that that's not a direct quote from the Bible, but I'm just saying, like, it's interesting because
the parallels.
Yeah, the parallel. Like, it's kind of a miracle child because she was freaking dumb old. So, and Hagar and Ishmael were cast away from the family. So it's literally exactly what happened to Diamondback. And, thinking about that, like, that has to be such a heartbreaking thing. And,
right.
To grow up knowing that you and your mother were literally just pushed aside for the 2 people your father loved more. That has to be a really crappy feeling. So, and I mean, like I said, I think he's just mentally warped, and honestly, because of his rage, it stunted his growth, and he never moved past it.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. And you were mentioning earlier that you didn't really get why he didn't use his full suit of armor and the punchy gloves earlier in the show. One
issue that I did have was, so we're getting a lot of hype with, I have the Judas bullets, and then it was what's her name, Cottonmouth's sister,
Mariah Dillard.
Yeah, it was Mariah Dillard's idea to market it and to sell it to people.
Right.
So he already had the Judas bullets. Then he comes out with the Judas 2. Meanwhile, I don't know if it was the entire time, but he had the armor to fight Luke Cage. And it seems like the entire season we're building this hype where they're kind of going to fight and you don't really know how. But there's like leading up to that.
Yeah, you know it's going to happen.
Yeah,
it's going to showdown.
You can feel it's going to happen. Yeah, there's going to be a showdown. So
why didn't he just use the suit?
Why didn't he just use the suit at the start? Why did he need to be like, I got the Judas 2? Like, why? Like, if, like, I understand if his purpose was to market that and profit, but if you want to fight Luke Cage, then fight him. I don't know if he just wanted to kill him from a distance, but it didn't seem like that would have even satisfied him. He wanted a brawl,
Mm-hmm.
So.
Now, I don't know if this is everyone's favorite villain in the show. There was Mariah Dillard, there was Cottonmouth, there was Diamondback. My favorite was actually Shades
Yeah, he was pretty cool.
He really, honestly, stole literally every scene he was in.
Yeah.
And he was a secondary character that kind of pulled the strings throughout the entire show. And I thought he was more compelling than Diamondback, honestly. I don't know what his deal is. I don't know why
Yeah, you don't really know anything about him.
No, and that's kind of... I was disappointed that they didn't really, like, give him a motive. Like, what is his game? Where is his loyalty really? Because it kind of it shifts several times throughout the series. Like, whoever has the power, he's behind them.
Yeah, and he's really good at, like, showing, I don't know, telling people exactly what they want and need to hear to do what he wants, which is interesting.
I kept expecting him to have, like,
because that's true. Even in prison, he was kind of behind the person in power.
Yeah.
Like, why doesn't, if he's so smart, why doesn't he just take the power for himself? Why is he always behind someone?
Right. In the first episode, they showed him, like, taking off his glasses and looking into Cottonmouth's eyes and, like, tell me why you look into my eyes. I thought that was, like, some subtle hint that, oh, this guy must have an ability to be, like, a truth or a lie detector or a good judge of character based on, like,
something with his eyes.
Something with his eyes, but they never developed that at all, and I was kind of disappointed. Even if that was a deviation from the character in the comics, I think that would have been a pretty cool thing to do.
I think he just really likes sunglasses. I don't know. Because even at the end, that scene where he kills the guy and he sees that he has sunglasses, you can tell, like, just made Shade's day.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
He was just so happy to find a new pair of sunglasses. It's the simple pleasures for him. That's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm. So what did you think about the actual fight scenes in the show?
Well, okay. Let me give you my full opinion on the fight scenes. Basically, I'm going to start with the good and with the bad.
Yeah.
I loved the fact that they had the whole crew of people watching the fight.
In the last episode.
Yeah.
Yes.
I grew up in the Bronx, and there were always fights in school, and that's literally exactly what everyone did. Everybody would go together and, like, kind of, like, chime in and, like, narrate the fight. You'd hear a lot of, oh.
He said something about your mama.
It was always something, you know, where people, like, were interacting in the fight. So I thought, I don't know, because I love New York, that's where I'm from, mm-hmm. and I just thought that was so New York, and I loved that. I thought it was fantastic. Also, just side note from the fight scene, that whole Method Man rap episode, I loved that. Just throwing that in there. Loved it.
Well, I like the fact that literally every episode there was a musical guest.
Yeah.
They brought in, like...
That was so cool.
People from, I'm assuming, Harlem. That, like, musicians from Harlem to play their own music on the show. And then, Method Man being kind of like Harlem's voice in that episode. That was sick. It kind of gave me goosebumps.
Alright, so anyway, back to the fight scene. The thing that I didn't particularly like was the way that the fights were kind of cut.
And choreographed.
Choreographed, I feel like I was expecting a boxer. I was expecting, like, a big boxing scene. Mm-hmm. A lot of it was, like, too close up and switching around too much to really get the gist of what was going on.
Or it was too far back and it was just Luke picking people up and...
Yeah, I just thought, okay, so the entire season I'm thinking, with someone like Luke Cage, similar to Jessica Jones, they're so strong that they don't really need to be a strategic fighter. They can just kind of throw people around.
They don't need to be a martial artist like
Daredevil.
Daredevil.
Exactly. And you're not really expecting that, and especially with Luke Cage, like, you're really not expecting that. I liked the creative add-ins, like when he uses the car door and stuff, and I honestly was hoping for more creativity on his part, because, you know, that's really interesting, and that's cool that he's so innovative with, like, just grabbing random crap and fighting with it. However, with that scene, he finally has someone who is equal in strength to him. That should have been a good fight. I felt like I was watching freaking Pacquiao and what's his face and Mayweather in that fight again. It was like, you're just like, what the heck? Like, it was...
Well,
I don't know. Like,
I thought that last scene was a lot like Rocky 5, where Rocky faces Tommy Gunn on the streets, but honestly, Tommy Gunn and Rocky was a better fight than Luke Cage and Diamondback. It was just clunky. There was no there was no choreography, really. I mean, there was, but it was so poorly done in comparison to even Jessica Jones, which I even criticized for its clunky use of But even in Jessica Jones, it was compelling. It was fun to watch. It was
Yeah.
This, it was literally just him going down the hallway, 1, 2, 1, and that was the gist of every single fight scene, and it just honestly dragged.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that I definitely can't argue with.
I also think, and this is as a side note, I think the show's too long. 13 episodes is great and all. I like being immersed into the Marvel Cinematic Universe as much as possible, and it works for Daredevil. It kind of worked for Jessica Jones. It did not work for Luke Cage. This could have been shaved down by 5 episodes, and it would have been a much tighter show.
I mean, even if that is true, I feel like the amount of episodes that there will be are going to be announced before the show comes out, and when people found out, wow, there's so much less episodes than Jessica Jones and Daredevil, they would have kind of been pissed.
Oh yeah, I'm sure people probably would have thrown the racist card and all that. No, people do. Any chance they can get, they will throw the racist card.
That's so dumb. No, nobody would do that. It's just basically like,
okay.
I just think it would be, we wanted more of this character. If this character's so great, why not? Blah, blah, blah. And it would have turned into that. I think maybe they could have made the plot a little more complex to, I don't know. It was a very simple plot. Like, in the first, 5 episodes, it's literally just him, trying to
bring Cottonmouth down.
Yeah, bring Cottonmouth down, which honestly didn't seem like a really difficult feat in the first place. I feel like he was honestly, going downhill anyway, honestly. Like, some of the business moves that he was making at the offset of the season. Even his sister was like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Like, yeah. He was the architect of his own destruction.
Anyway, let's move on from the villains and the fight scenes and all that, because I think we've criticized that enough. How did you like Mike Colter as Luke Cage?
I actually really like him. I think
he's got a charm to him.
He has a charm. He's able to say really cheesy lines and make you not hate him somehow.
Sweet Christmas.
Yeah, stuff like that you're like, depends on the bean. It's like, if this was someone else, I'd probably hate you. I like whenever something bad happened to him, he kind of clunked, he was like...
Yeah, he did the Charlie Brown where he just kind of mopes around. Just
You felt so bad for him.
Yeah.
He's just a big lovable guy. You feel so bad to see someone so pure have their name tarnished so terribly. And that's something that I thought was
right, but really in the same token, Luke Cage is too humble. He was so humble, and humility is something I respect highly. But with Luke Cage, are you the hero? Did you save these people? I'm no hero. Well, then he must have actually killed that person. That's the logical next step from people to think. He's accused of murdering this guy, this police officer, Cottonmouth. I'm no hero. All right, Luke, we get it. You are literally the definition of a hero, especially for not hyping yourself up. But it was annoying me personally. Literally every time he got the chance to say it, I'm no hero.
I actually didn't even think about that. I didn't think about that once. I think in his mind, he was willing to go against the law to take Cottonmouth down and to do things kind of like they were saying, there was the argument in this. And that's what I love about the Marvel Netflix shows. They keep bringing up current issues that people have in society. And I think that's a really cool thing.
Yeah,
and one of them was, does the system work? Does the justice system work? Has this process become too long? Why are things the way they are? And it that was shown very well, because you have someone like Luke Cage who's clearly the system isn't working because you have corruption in the city.
And you even have going along with the police system, cops getting frustrated at the system for not working, and then
police
taking
brutality,
it out.
yeah, which is obviously a huge issue right now.
Yeah.
And then what was Misty?
Misty Knight, yeah.
Misty Knight. Then you have her who the entire time is defending the system, and the one time she breaks a law, a rule in the system, she kind of, you know, tries to make her own path. Someone dies for it.
Right.
So it kind of was showing the system is this way for a reason. Is it flawed? Yes, it is. And I think the reason why Luke Cage kept saying, I'm no hero, is because he knows he's going against the law, and he doesn't want other people to follow him because they don't have the power that they do. They'll get themselves freaking killed.
That's a good point.
A, and B, he's doing something that in his mind he knows isn't necessarily right.
Mm-hmm. He's taking the law into his own hands. I think actually my favorite character of the show was Misty Knight, personally. I just... the actress played her so well. She's a great character to begin with, but they kind of grounded her in reality. In the comics, she like her iconic look is what you saw at the end,
which I really loved, actually.
The 70s fro and the red like turtleneck shirt with the cut off shoulders. But in the comics,
I thought she was fabulous.
In the comics, she has like a robotic arm.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. Which
is why, like, when she got shot in the arm, it was kind of everyone's first thought to, like, oh, it must be because she's going to get a robotic arm. But that, honestly, like, that wouldn't make
really
sense
fit in, I don't think.
With what they have going on in the police station and stuff. But I honestly really did find her character compelling, and I like the fact that, you know, she... although she was a love interest at first for Luke Cage, that was very quickly swept away as the story progressed, and that I thought that was realistic. Like, it wasn't some love triangle between other characters.
Which I was, because I was getting worried that was going to happen, and it kind of ticked me off. I like how they kind of had that tension of like, yeah, I slept with you, this sucks. But it didn't turn into, you know, I don't know, a big thing, which I appreciated.
Let's talk a little bit about Rosario Dawson, who came back as
she
the Night
really
Nurse.
shined in this season, I must say. She really did.
Now she's had in the first season of Daredevil, she previously had the longest stay on that show, and then she was briefly in season 2 of Daredevil, as well as in Jessica Jones. And she has a history with Luke Cage because she saved his life in the previous season. So it was cool seeing her kind of get back in touch with Luke.
And I thought the way that they went about that was extremely realistic. The way that their relationship developed was very gradual. It wasn't like...
It was organic.
Yeah, it was organic. Like, you could tell they both liked each other, and they, like, there were a couple of jokes made or whatever, but even when they first saw each other in the diner, it wasn't like they instantly had that attraction or anything crazy. It was just really subtle. It was kind of awkward. They're like... It gave you the feeling of, like, what do you say to this person that you saved their life and you've been worrying about them, they saved your life and you didn't really get to repay them or anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I thought that was really well done. And I like that Rosario Dawson was able to, like, call Luke Cage out on some of his, like, super cheesiness. Because a couple of times he had said stuff that was, like, so ridiculous and you're like, oh my gosh, this is dumb. And then she said it and you're like, finally someone acknowledges what a goofball he is.
And I like the fact that she got together with Luke Cage at the end.
Yeah.
At least they make it seem like that's going to be a relationship.
Like they're going to get coffee one day.
They're definitely going to get that coffee.
The Cuban beans.
The Cuban beans. I thought she was Puerto Rican. I must be wrong.
I thought she was Puerto Rican too.
Anyway,
but
what do you think about how at the end of the show, Mariah Dillard is just set free and then Luke Cage is thrown immediately into prison? Do you think that'll last?
No, I don't think it's gonna last. What do I think that was completely off? No, I don't. They didn't have enough evidence against her. Yeah. They had a lot of issues with things that he had done, and even if that was dismissed, then you have his past that he escaped from prison. So no matter what, that's not something that once you're acknowledged, you can't run away from.
Right.
So I don't know. As much as it sucked, that's life. That life sucks, and that's, I don't know. That was kind of realistic, because sometimes bad things happen to good people and great things happen to pieces of crap. So
that's true.
I don't know. I thought that was cool. And just like another point that I wanted to bring up was one thing that I really appreciate is that all of the characters they're not perfect and they're not so stuck in their role. And when you learn more about them, you kind of understand them more. Like, I thought the revelation of, like, Cottonmouth and Mariah Dillard's, like, childhood and upbringing, that was really very intriguing story to me. I thought when he said to her, you wanted it from their uncle, and she killed him, I was like, holy crap. Like, I don't know, that's just crazy, because you have two, like, extremely flawed characters who you don't really like that much. Him, they're kind of playing the pity for him, like, oh, he just wanted to play the piano, and, you know, his aunt made him shoot someone. And then you see him saying to his sister, oh, you wanted that. So you can see that he's been warped so much in his mind, and so has she, that they're... You know, they're just, like, it's like...
I'll even go so far as to say, like, I liked... I usually hate flashbacks.
Yeah,
I really
hates
enjoyed the flashbacks with Cottonmouth and his sister.
Yeah.
I did not like any of the flashbacks with Luke.
Yeah,
but that's
agreed, actually. I felt the same way. I never had issues with flashbacks. Like, usually they don't bother me that much. The flashback issue that I had with Luke Cage's thing was because during the fight scene, again, it was like half flashbacks and trying to parallel, but to me that just took me out of the fight scene. So I didn't like to be taken away from that just to see two kids in a ring, like...
Yeah.
You know?
And, you know, we've criticized a lot about the show, but honestly, it was solid throughout.
Oh, yeah, we did really enjoy it.
It was solid storytelling throughout. I would probably give it like a 7 to a 7.5 for like a review. You know, when you compare it to Jessica Jones or Daredevil, which were both exceptional shows, you kind of have to feel a little bit disappointed. We want to see more from Luke Cage. We want to, and that's why it's going to be so exciting to see Luke in the Defenders with these other classic characters, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, and Iron Fist, whose first season is coming out March 17th of next year.
Wow.
Yeah, so not
How
too
exciting.
long, about half a year.
It'll be an anniversary present for us.
Oh yeah, that's right after our anniversary.
Thanks, Marvel.
You know us so well.
You know us.
Any final thoughts on Luke Cage's first series?
As usual, like I said, I really love the, you know, issues of social injustice and, you know, how people are a byproduct of their past. That, like, this is like a recurring motif in all of the Marvel Cinematic Netflix shows. I love them. I think they're fantastic. This show wasn't as strong to me as the others, but there were some aspects of it that were so unique and so, I don't know, just like original that you couldn't help but love it.
One thing that this show got better than any of the other previous shows is the sense of community.
Yes, in New York, and the culture, honestly.
Yeah, the culture.
Before it was just like cold and people would be like walking around and kind of bitter and angry, but they didn't really get New York so much. Whereas you
also have to like kind of think that like Daredevil is a very introverted character. Jessica Jones is a very introverted character, whereas Luke Cage, although he has an introverted personality, he's outgoing. He's willing to... He cares
for people.
Yeah, he really does care for people.
Not that the others don't.
Yeah, but he's willing to go out and fix everyone's problems.
Well, the thing is, even in, you know, with Matt Murdock, he cares about people. He has that desire, but he's very much alone. I don't know how
Yeah, he's a solitary character. He doesn't go out and mingle.
One thing that I thought you could really see very well is in the communities. Also, you have Turk, the character from Daredevil
and
is,
Jessica Jones.
That you hated him. You hated him, and then you just see him in Pop's shop playing chess.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, that's the thing too. I think in the community you have some really crappy people that are just there. You don't really know anything. They're just people, and they do like their daily lives. And especially in a place like New York, you could be living right next to like a terrible person and be like, hey, how's it going? And you don't really know. I thought that was kind of cool too.
I do like the fact that the Netflix shows have recurring characters throughout all of them. I think that gives it a sense of continuity, and you can kind of tell like where everything pieces together. So this first season clearly takes place after the first season of Daredevil and Jessica Jones, but it does take place before the second season of Daredevil, because in the second season of Daredevil, you do see a cut on Rosario Dawson's face when she appears, and she said, and apparently that stems from something that happened in this first season of Luke Cage. I think that's super awesome, but I do have to criticize not only this show but all the Netflix Marvel shows. They have a serious aversion to like name dropping the Avengers. No one mentions the Avengers. They say
in this season they mention them a lot.
They only mention Captain America, but they do.
They mention Thor too.
They say the blonde guy with the hammer. Why can't they just call him Thor? Everyone knows his name is Thor. They have,
yeah, I see what you
the
mean.
news media calls him Thor. The guy with the shield, the green monster. Why not just call them the Hulk?
I think that's their way of kind of saying that the common people think the Avengers are freaks.
I agree with that
to an extent. Yeah, like
extent.
everybody knows their names and stuff. You could just
I do appreciate that the fact that they call like the alien invasion of New York the incident.
Yeah,
that makes sense. That I didn't have a problem with. In Harlem's Paradise, when Mariah is talking about how Luke Cage killed her brother, and she's talking about the freaks in the world. Instead of name dropping Jessica Jones, whom she could have, because as a politician you name drop people because you want to seem like you know who you're talking about. And instead of name dropping Jessica Jones, she said a woman downtown snapped a guy's neck because blah blah blah.
Yeah, but that was such an isolated incident. Like, it's not. I don't know. I feel like.
But okay,
there
if this was on the news in like today's society, you would know these people's names. They would be more popular than Kim Kardashian and Kanye West.
But not more popular than Harambe. D's out for Harambe.
Okay. Alright, so I don't mean to ramble, but yeah, that's something,
I see what you mean.
That's
yeah,
something
no,
that bugs me. That I
think it's their way of having like a reference so that people could be like, oh, they're talking about Thor, oh, they're talking about Jessica Jones, without actually saying it. Like, I think they think it's fun for people, but we all know what they're talking about. They need to be a little more mysterious, maybe.
Even in like Ant-Man, when he's learning about like what he has to do to save the day, Scott Lang says, sounds like you need to call the Avengers. Like, as a joke, like there needs to be jokes like that. Like, when they're trying to stop Diamondback and Luke Cage from going at it in Pop's barbershop, someone should have said like someone called Tony Stark or something like that.
That's not that funny.
But Tony Stark's literally right up the street in the Avengers building. Like, get him down here. Anyway,
someone called Tony Stark. See, you're just as cheesy as Luke. Alright.
Anyway, guys, we did enjoy the show.
Yes, we did. In spite of all of our criticisms. We're negative people. We always have...
We're Geek Critique. So...
Yes. We're just... That's us. Just who we are. We can love something and hate it a little at the same time. It's how we feel about each other.
Yeah. Guys, this week... starting Thursday through Sunday, we're going to be at New York Comic Con.
We're so excited!
Literally right after we do this, we're going to be making another one of her cosplays. She's going to be... I'll save that for later. But we just released a video like her making her Ace cosplay from Doctor Who.
Yeah, it's like a really casual Ace. And when I say cosplay, it doesn't mean I manufactured the jacket or the skirt. I bought those things. It's just me making the... I'm just, putting the patches and stuff on my jacket and kind of talking about how I feel about the character.
Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you've made it this far, and you don't already subscribe, maybe you want to click this red square here, and like the video, and let us know your thoughts on the show. We do want to hear them. We want to hear if you disagree with any of our points, or if we missed something. Let us know.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to discuss, and we'd love to hear your guys' opinion.
Mm-hmm. I think we all need to agree that the best part of this series was Stanley's cameo.
No. The best part was the Colombian bean. Or the Cuban bean.
Alright, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good one.
Bye, guys.
Bye. See you at Comic-Con.
Yes.